This is a Clouds weather alert.
Good Friday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center coming on right now for special severe weather coverage because of a national threat here of storms that are really presenting some problems here toward especially parts right now of Alabama and Tennessee. But even in Kentucky, we did have a confirmed tornado a little while ago, and we're definitely seeing some stronger winds up there. But really wanted to focus on a destructive severe thunderstorm warning right now in toward parts of Alabama as we're seeing hurricane force winds occurring potentially toward areas like Coleman there in Huntsville. So we really need folks treating this like a tornado situation towards some of these different areas right now. This warning for the destructive threat here of some severe weather does include parts, if not all, of Marshall County there in Alabama, as well as central Jackson County, southern Madison County, southeastern Limestone there, southwestern DeKalb, or DeKalb, depending on the pronunciation there, locally. And then as we get toward Coleman County, that's another area included, and then Morgan as well. As these severe thunderstorms are located along a line extending from near Huntsville International Airport and near Arley, moving east at 80 miles an hour. So already had a gust there in Decatur, the community of Decatur there in northern Alabama, to 77 miles an hour. So these are tornado-like wind speeds that we're talking about. So widespread power outages, starting to see something here just in the last little bit, similar to what we saw there yesterday toward Tarrant and Dallas County. So we wanted to jump one for that. We're starting to get that higher end threat. This is the first, I believe, destructive severe thunderstorm warning we've seen with the threat as it started to really emerge over the last little bit. So a nasty situation here in parts of Alabama right now with this destructive threat here. Just gotta be watching exactly what's going on here towards some of these different communities as this threat again really escalating quickly because we already have a lot of wind energy around. There's high wind warnings in areas that we rarely see them, and then just couple the high wind values that we're already seeing here, and we really have them aloft. And then you have that rain there, the storms developing with the instability. It's not taking as much for that wind to be transported down to the surface. So really a problem here with this warning. Again, Huntsville under that threat, but also areas there in the vicinity still kind of seeing this warning remain in effect right now do include Decatur, Madison, Albertville, Coleman, Scottsboro, Hartselle, Boaz, Guntersville, and just the overall region here that we're watching in north central and northeastern Alabama where we have this destructive threat. So again, a dangerous situation. There's also a tornado watch in play here. We have other tornado watches here in the vicinity. This is just one of three of them that is including some of these areas here out toward Huntsville and Coleman, and then the other one here in this region also includes Birmingham, so even northwestern Georgia and parts of North Georgia under that one, and then a third tornado watch is in play further off toward the north. So again, we're watching things there. We're watching things around Nashville as well. Again, this stuff's really erupted very quickly on us, as we've alluded to here. Seeing potential for some 70-mile-an-hour gusts around Nashville. So, going to check some things behind the scenes here. So, bear with me. We're trying to get you the latest information to protect you, your friends, your family here. From the national level perspective. Again, we don't always go on for situations where we don't have that many tornado warnings or that type of scenario, where it's more about just severe thunderstorm warnings, but these are tornado-like situations. So we really got to be careful, at least in some regard. These aren't like the highest end tornado-like situations, but I know a lot of people are already worried in Tennessee because of what happened here, that anniversary of all those storms. I mean, we had the tornadoes there go through around Nashville and Cookeville. I mean, that's already something you're having to deal with, and now you're having to deal with these storms on top of that. So you hate to see it. As we continue to give you the latest information, I'm going to try to get some observations here. So if you hear my voice trailing off, I'm just looking at another source here real quick to try to get you the very latest on what's going on here. Just trying to make sure we get a good handle on things from that national perspective and how some different communities are being impacted. So again, I just want to make sure you guys see exactly the storyline that we're dealing with here. So in terms of the Huntsville office, I know all those phones going off because of the 80-mile-an-hour wind potential here over the last little bit. They did get a gust to 67 miles an hour there recently at one of the sites there in the Huntsville area. I believe actually it's over there toward, as I try to look at our data here that's coming on in, looks like a gust there in Madison County. So let me go ahead and see the wind energy. It's really picked up even in the northern morning now. It was not showing up quite as much on the north side of Huntsville, but it's really picked up. So let's go ahead and go back on over here to our other mode. We've shown this to you plenty of times before. We said it to you a bunch last night, and this is our wind mode. You can see all this wind, Scottsboro, New Hope. This is 70, 80-mile-an-hour wind here potentially within this in the blue. Really becoming a problem for folks. I know getting a lot of reports of issues now. Again, a very serious situation, becoming a national level threat now here. We have that logo continuing to stay red. And by the way, North Florida, South Georgia, we're really not seeing the severe potential emerge as we get toward areas toward the south here in terms of just to get into thunderstorm accident. We still have gusty winds around, and that can still cause some intermittent power outages in an isolated fashion. So we're not so much on radar now, so we're not going to really see that too much down to the south, but we do have that wind energy around. So I know the weather service in Huntsville watching some rotation there, potential bookend vortex there from a few minutes ago in Madison County there, and then also getting some different tornado possible tags popping up here on some of these different warnings. So let's go ahead and see what's happening now. Again, I'm just trying to give you guys the latest. I know there's a considerable wind threat toward the north there, the Paducah office. Really watching things as we get over toward areas there in western parts of Kentucky. So we'll kind of work our way up there. I need to switch to that radar then. It'll make it a little bit easier here. Our computer system definitely has gotten a workout over the last few days, and going back to Sunday as well, we were on for that threat around Norman, Oklahoma. There, all that wind energy and even a lot of tornadic activity really in that state that we saw on Sunday. So again, just continuing to watch as we look here. You see the warnings that this east of Paducah, this stuff moved through Paducah very quickly. Got some power outages there. And we have a warning continuing for parts of Caldwell, Crittenden, Lion Tree, and Webster counties here until 12:15 Central Time in parts of Kentucky. They had a gust there at about 70 miles an hour in Calvert City, according to a train spotter. That was in Marshall County, Kentucky. So definitely getting some problems here on our hands. Again, it's not taking as much in the way of storming as to get the wind energy down toward the surface here today because the winds are just so strong aloft. Let me go ahead and go back on over here to other sources. I know we had a tornado warning in Kentucky. For now, that one that we were tracking there, I didn't really focus too much on it because we weren't seeing a lot with it. The Louisville office still had one out for Hancock, Breckenridge, and Ohio counties, but that has been canceled. So that's some good news there. But we're just going to have to keep watching. I know just getting all sorts of damage reports in, especially out of the Huntsville office. Scottsboro there, 55 miles an hour, a gust recently. Multiple trees and power lines are down there, it looks like. So, again, hearing about stuff like that. And let me go ahead and get back to the broad perspective then. Again, it's kind of underneath it, but that strong tornado threat within this. And we were thinking we'd get a tornado threat to really emerge on us here based on some guidance last night. It may still happen, but right now it's been pretty limited. There's tornado watches, though, in a widespread fashion. Again, this action's moving very rapidly here, folks. I mean, it's crazy just how quickly everything's moving. We still got to watch, though. Some of this action in Kentucky is a little bit back behind, so I have to see how some of our parameters coming together for that. Sometimes you would think, well, maybe the storms wouldn't be as strong, but we already had our confirmed tornado so far for today here. I mean, talking about since sunrise there as we were looking not too far away from Paducah, but it was in a rural area, it seemed like, based on the indications I was getting. But again, there's your significant tornado parameters there around Bowling Green. You see some of those in the red there, and you have purples. Got to watch around Cookeville. If this stuff were to try to become a little more discreet on us, it definitely could be trying to do that. We could have some real problems there As we look out toward the east over the next little bit, there's a tornado watch in play there. See Chattanooga. You see in Rome, Georgia here. There is this west of Atlanta even. Again, this stuff's moving so rapidly. We just had to go ahead and come on the air. We're now at Birmingham under a base severe thunderstorm warning that we're watching very carefully as well. This stuff moving east there, a little bit slower, but still. Severe thunderstorm warning in play toward Tuscaloosa, Blount, Hale, Bibb, and Jefferson counties. Again, we're getting reports out to the north, out of the Huntsville area. Widespread tree damage there around Mooresville, Alabama. I'm going to check our pattern numbers. They've just gone up rapidly here in the Weather Center. Very rapidly. We're talking about 62,459 customers in the dark in Alabama. Toward Huntsville proper. A lot of these numbers haven't necessarily come in yet, but they're going to here over the next little bit, no doubt. And out toward Fayette County, over half the customers in the dark, or just barely over half there. Areas there in western and northwestern Alabama, really seeing that wind threat accelerate on us. There's still a lot of outages in Texas from yesterday, 69,431 customers in the dark there. So as we try to give you guys that information, I know still a little bit more in the way of outages in Texas than there are in Alabama from what we've seen, but that's about to change here probably as more areas lose power here. So it's important to target those devices, and that's kind of a word of caution for areas here downstream like northwest Georgia as things deteriorate. We just gotta be really watching here. You gotta be watching around Chattanooga, charter those devices if you're there in that area. Again, some very strong winds coming on into the picture. Lexington, Kentucky, if this stuff were to try to re-emerge on us a little bit stronger, gotta be charting those devices there. But even the line back behind could be kind of moving its way in a little bit later on. That could be a problem in Tennessee now. Quickly up to 91,000 as they go back to the south now. 91,834 customers in the dark. So seeing a lot of outages there. Areas like Henry County, Tennessee, over 8,000 customers in the dark according to PowerOutage.us. O'Brien County, almost 4,000 there in the dark. So these areas, the number is going to keep going up toward like Davidson County. There's over 5,000 in the dark there, but that number's going to keep going up into toward that vicinity. So as the information does stream on in, hopefully not as bad in some of these areas where we saw toward Tarrant and Dallas yesterday. But still, it's starting to get that look to it here based on some other reports that we were getting and the type of warning being issued there toward Coleman areas there in that region, that county, Jackson, Madison, Marshall, Morgan. You kind of get the idea, that vicinity there of northern Alabama with that special tagging there with the black and the orange there with the outline kind of together there, the two orange lines with the black in the middle there. That's a special kind of warning as we look. I'll take the other ones off for a moment. You see what I'm talking about here. That's a type of warning that is like a tornadic-like situation for some of these communities as trees are down with lines there on, it looks like Paradise Shores. Tree down with a complete blocking of a road there as well in northern Alabama. Hearing tornado watches being canceled to the west, tornado warnings being issued now in part to Alabama and Tennessee now by the office there in Huntsville. I think that's just one, and it came across as two because there's a lot going on here with the system. I mean, you heard all those beeps. It was kind of, I guess, getting a little overwhelmed, but we have a possible tornado that we're tracking in this area here. North of Huntsville, just on that Tennessee line with Alabama. I know this is almost like a tropical situation in some ways. I mean, we have such a low pressure here, a record-setting low pressure, and our system's having trouble picking out here these rotations sometimes because we just have so much wind energy around. Or, by the way, getting some reports out of McCracken County, Kentucky now that damaged homes and trees down in the Fremont area there, so that's problematic for those folks there. That's south of Paducah by a little ways, but again, watching this stuff moving very quickly here. Some of these different areas, again, this stuff really coming together rapidly. I'm not necessarily seeing a strong tornado threat, but we'll just have to kind of keep watching for that and waiting for that here. for sure. Here's another look at that tornado warning situation toward parts of northern Alabama and southern Tennessee right now. You see a tornado warning for parts of Jackson and Madison counties there. Those counties are, as we look toward, it looks like Alabama, Lincoln, and Franklin in middle Tennessee. So could get a quick spin-up tornado in this area here. Looking to see if there's debris there. It's going to be kind of hard to pick out, but let's see here. Again, just trying to give you guys the latest information. I don't think there's debris there yet, but we're looking on the high top radar there. Just continuing to follow the situation very carefully as we're live right now on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch because of this national level threat. So again, I know they're talking about it here in the chat. It is kind of an imposter. Debris signature displaced well from where it should be, and it's an artifact there. It makes it look like a debris signature, but it's not. So I kind of was looking at that, and I was thinking it probably wasn't, but it's good that they gave us some clarification on that there at the National Weather Service in Huntsville. So again, just continuing to watch things here with the Doppler, looking really close to the surface, and this is pretty close view here as we're looking in comparison to the other one as well there that we were kind of monitoring in parts of western Kentucky a little while ago. We were looking closer toward the surface and we were able to see some debris there pop out on that one. Got to watch to see if we get a debris signature out here in southern Tennessee or far northern Alabama. So just going to keep watching all this here for you in the Weather Center. Again, trying to give you the latest information to protect you, your friends, and your family here because this is such a national level threat that we're dealing with. Again, things have just moved very rapidly here. This could have implications here for areas like Atlanta or far northwestern and north central Georgia later because things might be a little bit stronger there just with the quick movement of things. Just before 1 Eastern, 12 Central, you already have the tornado watch now being canceled for Nashville because once the accident moved through, though, I would kind of almost wonder there at least a little bit. It may not be anything to it, but that other back side line there, I'm a little surprised in some way that they got ahead and dropped it with that other line there, considering what we saw at the line toward the north there producing that tornado. So we'll keep our eyes on that. The parameters, let's check those. Yeah, they're kind of behind them, so I see why they did that. And the instability, yeah, they're pretty far behind that as well. So just check to the north. I know this area here earlier really is kind of matching up good, but let me go ahead and put up our other warning information because it gets kind of confusing sometimes when I take off the certain types of warnings. So let me put those back on there so you guys get a better look at that. You can see here considerable damage here in several areas of possibility. Talking about in these orange polygons here. There's several of these in play. Accent here as we get into western Kentucky, still potentially producing severe weather. So, talking about Crittenton as well as Christian, Caldwell, Trigg, Hopkins, Webster, and Lyon counties here. So, problematic. I see Evansville, Indiana there. 71-hour winds possibly moving through there. These storms have a history of wind damage. So, a really unique situation. The lower pressure here, a record-setting low pressure, really causing problems. It's, needs other factors here to really produce some types of severe weather, but that wind energy gets down to the surface pretty easily in a situation like this. I mean, this is a pressure what you see with a hurricane, a low-end hurricane, but still a hurricane here. So very rare to see that, and that really kind of sparks up that wind threat, and you have the flooding threat to some degree. It hadn't been overwhelming, but it's closed some roads towards some of these different areas. So that's something to consider, keep an eye on as we continue to watch this. The instability factor, a little bit more so seemingly coming together there in western Kentucky. I can see there are areas around Bowling Green there. Toward Warren County, they're getting some of this nasty weather. I know things are just moving so quickly, moving northeast to 70, so it's almost hard to give a warning for some of this stuff here as we continue to watch it. Just continuing to give you guys the latest information here. I'm going to go ahead and go down to the south now. You see McMinnville going to be in the path, Cookeville later on. I know they have that history here back 3 years ago where they had this devastating, deadly tornado situation there. So you guys are kind of worried in that area probably. We'll keep our eyes on that. I know Tullahoma right now getting in some pretty gusty wind and rain, it seems. as we get toward areas there in southern and middle Tennessee. Again, tornado warning there in play on the border of Tennessee and Alabama. And then you see this line here, Huntsville, Coleman, moving closer already, though, Scottsboro. I know we were already getting reports into the damage there around Scottsboro in the chat. So that's pretty early there in the scenario, really, as we're looking over there. I need to double check that. I'm going to make sure that's synced up, because it seems like that reporting is kind of really telling the story here with these gusty winds. It's way out ahead. I mean, that's the overall wind pattern, though. So I guess that kind of just goes to show you here how things can go sometimes as the situation continues to develop on us here this afternoon. Just trying to make sure you guys know exactly what's happening here. I mean, these winds are just so strong in the overall pattern. I mean, there they go, really on the screen. I mean, you saw that blue unit on Scottsboro. You don't have the rain there, but that really stirs up too much. But all that wind energy is just coming down. I know the circulation is right now perpendicular, moving perpendicular to the radar beam. So that's going to make it hard to see the circulation there as we're looking at things in toward that area. As we continue to watch, as we go back over to the other mode right now, let's continue to switch around to our different radar sources, keeping on checking some different things. I know we're not getting reports. This is pretty crazy, but in the Huntsville chat, they're talking about trees down in the following roads, county roads here. It's just a crazy list: 782, 565, 62, 102, 157, 1579, 1658, 846, 80, as well as 420, 1223, 1386, 653, and 1141. That's how many roads have trees on them right now. They are in that vicinity, according to emergency management, the county roads there in parts of North Alabama. So again, just continuing to watch, or it could be just into southern Tennessee, but okay, I think it's Coleman, in that Coleman area. So just gonna have to keep our eyes on things there. Coleman County is where that emergency management information is coming out. So that just goes to show you how bad these winds are going to be downstream. I mean, we're having just, all sorts of reports. I don't think I've ever seen a list like that except out of a hurricane. So that's what we're kind of down with, these hurricane force winds moving through. By the way, new tornado warning in Kentucky now for parts of Union County up there. So let's get up and get to that view here on the Doppler radar. You see around the Sturgis community right now, there's some rotation. It's so hard to pick out, though, which is a good thing. We could have had stronger tornadoes today, and we still can. But right now, it's looking more like a situation where this wind's just going to be an extreme storyline. Again, these storms are moving so rapidly here. It's almost hard to give out warnings for them here. So we need everybody paying attention across the country on this threat here. Just continuing to give you guys the latest. You can kind of see this accent that moves on in. Again, possible tornado there over Sturgis in northwestern Kentucky. Just continuing to watch that. Continuing to watch all our different sources here right now. This stuff is just rapidly moving, rapidly evolving on us here. We'll have to watch toward Chattanooga with that one tornado warning here in play. Let's go back going over to our other source right now. There west of Chattanooga, you can see that red box. We'll have to watch the motion on that. They're saying right now it's moving northeast at 60, though, so that may keep it north of Chattanooga, that area. But there's other areas that could have to really be watched here over the next little bit. Toward Moore County there in this vicinity, talking about, it looks like a phone pole down. So this kind of tells the story. This is really bad stuff here in terms of this wind energy right now. Looking toward Alabama, I'm a little surprised we haven't got over 100,000 customers in the dark, but yes, it depends on the population density of the certain areas. I know we were up to 200,000 just between Tarrant and Dallas counties yesterday, but almost 75,000 customers in the dark now in Alabama, according to PowerOutages.us. So a nasty, nasty wind event really setting up. And even as I go to our local area real quick that we generally cover, I mean, we've had some gusty winds at times toward Tallahassee. It's mainly just been in Sarax and nothing even to that extent in some other communities. But in Florida, we have a high number of power outages really just on a windy day here with not much in terms of convection. I mean, talking about 17,000 customers out now of power in the state of Florida. So, talking about over 2,000 out in Duval County there on the first coast. As I look, Bradford doesn't have any, neither does Clay right now. That can change quickly though. Leon County, 1,205 customers in the dark. Holmes County there, looking 38 customers. Jackson County, 1,805. So you kind of get the idea. There's some nasty, nasty wind action with the wind advisory in play toward local communities. But that's not a big storyline nationally, of course. But still got to keep watching things. We'll go back to the north right now. You can see here we again have several warnings in play. Many warnings with a considerable wind tag in them. For whatever reason, it seems like, and it may just be a nature of how things are being reported, but it seems like for now, maybe not quite as many wind reports there in Tennessee as Alabama, North Alabama, but do have some issues here and there as we look toward Davidson County, and a structure collapse was called in, and a tree did fall straight through a home. So you don't like to hear about stuff like that, as just more and more trees are being reported down there in North Alabama, and that's a real problem for Northwest Georgia folks. Here again, tornado-like winds really moving through as Interstate 65 southbound at exit 310 did a tree down. I-65 southbound there. It looks like, I think they were talking about the 310 one. Maybe that's just being repeated in here, but also talking about County Road 702 there in Coleman County. Seeing some trees down in that vicinity. 222, 1036, 1193, 338. I mean, that's just a crazy number. County Road 782 as well, 1339, and 1212 there, 933, 813, and again Catherine Street in Coleman, also Mercury Drive. I mean, trees are just being knocked down everywhere. Rosemount Avenue, Lakeside Drive. I mean, this is really causing problems, folks. I mean, most folks probably not familiar with those roads. I'm sure not. I'm definitely not. But the point of me just saying all those off is just to see how many trees are falling here right now. So that means if you're in Northwest Georgia, talking about areas like Rome, Georgia, for instance, Dalton, Georgia, Calhoun, we have this wind moving in your direction. You need to charge up those devices. You need to be prepared here, folks, for a pretty extensive damaging wind, destructive wind event to be moving toward your area. So that could really be problematic here over the next little bit. So really got to be careful here as we're watching things this afternoon. Again, checking some different sources right now on this national level threat. Again, trying to give you guys the latest information to protect you, your friends, and your family here. We're just trying to make sure everybody's staying safe here this afternoon because of this escalating threat here, this escalating danger, unfortunately. Again, these winds are just really taking a turn here on us pretty quickly. We're thinking it might be more about tornadoes here, stronger tornadoes, but the winds, I think, have just been just so strong. That might be part of the issue here. It's just caused us straight line winds to just be so wicked and knocking down trees literally everywhere there in northern Alabama, it seems like. So, again, a really nasty situation that we're dealing with. Checking some things behind the scenes right now as we kind of stick with this for the time being. Again, you can see what's going on here. Trying to give you the latest information to protect you, your friends, and your family here. You can see we just had one tornado warning there in southern Tennessee. There's also one in Kentucky right now. Tennessee tornado warning is for parts of Franklin County. The Kentucky one is for parts of Union County. But it's really right now more about just the wind. I mean, they're all over the place here, folks, causing problems like you rarely see. So you have to just take that into consideration, keep that in mind here as you try to keep you, your friends, and your family safe this afternoon. Again, we're just continuing to give you guys the latest here. We're trying to make sure you guys are just really aware of what's happening and really are just being safe out there because, I mean, these type of winds can be deadly here in some cases. I mean, in the wrong situation, there's a new tornado warning disguised for parts of Jackson County in Alabama. Now we're going to go ahead and zoom back out a little bit. large tree down near the Goodlettsville Fire Department, it looks like, in Davidson County, as well as we just got a new warning now for destructive winds in Kentucky. It looks like Butler, Logan, and Ohio counties now under that threat. So that's something to keep in mind there as we just continue to give you guys the latest here. We want to make sure, again, everybody's really trying to be safe out there here this afternoon. These winds are so impressive, so dangerous here. And that's why we're trying to be on top of it, because everybody needs to stay safe here in this type of situation. We're just really having some problems in some of these areas. I know. Trying to see if we have any questions on YouTube. I know somebody's asking how's the weather going to be for Birmingham. Well, let me go ahead and zoom down here. We're seeing some winds about 60 miles an hour moving there right now. So let's go ahead and go into toward that area there. Birmingham International Airport, wind 39 knots as the last check, and these winds really coming in right here. We have these potential gusts there moving east at 50 miles an hour up to 60. Birmingham, Hoover, Vestavia Hills, Bessemer, Homewood, Mountain Brook, Crestville, Hueytown, Gardendale, Irondale, Leeds, Moody, Fairfield, Fuldendale, Oneida there, Centreville, as well as Bluentsville, excuse me, Cleveland, Dallas, and Center Point under this. So a thunderstorm warning here for the 60 mile an hour wind potential. Again, continuing to track all of this. We got a new tornado warning in Illinois now, and also some other areas in that region. So let's go ahead and get back up there. You see our new tornado warning in northern Alabama. Getting some rotation there again. We got a tornado warning in Jackson County, Alabama, to about, it looks like 12:45 Central, 12:30 Central for parts of Franklin County, Tennessee. Also a tornado warning here now being issued at Clemson, Illinois, Clemson's Illinois areas there as we look toward Gallatin there, and then it's Posey County. We're talking about in Indiana, Henderson in Kentucky, and Union County in Kentucky as well. And then the destructive winds here are talking about moving toward Bowling Green. So destructive winds for Logan, Butler, and Ohio counties. Again, seeing this nasty weather come in to areas around Russellville, for instance. So got to really be taking heed there over the next little bit as this accent comes on in from the west here. Again, we're just going to have to keep watching, keep tracking. No tornado damage reports so far in certain areas as we look toward, it looks like Huntland, but multiple trees and power lines down from the straight line of winds. So this really tells you guys how nasty things are with this overall situation with this gust near and even above into that hurricane force range in some instances. So gotta be watching here. I know in Clarksville, Tennessee, a couple of trees falling there on a power line from the wind damage. That's being reported by the SplatterNetwork.org. So again, it just really tells the weather story right now. We have the overall situation that is really enhanced there. It was partly because of that tornado threat, the stronger tornadoes being a potential, but also that wind threat here extends even further out toward the east, and that significant wind threat here. We still have that extending further out toward the east as well. Again, just trying to give you guys the latest here. You see all this action on Evansville. They're not even in that, but I already have the strong winds moving in toward that area that are more advanced there than we would generally see. You have more of this action here as we just kind of look. 70 mile an hour winds possibly. I know some of this damage being caused by the thunderstorms, some of it being caused just by the high winds in general here. So makes things kind of tricky in the grand scheme of things. I know. New severe thunderstorm warning now being issued further out toward the east now. As we're looking toward Clay, Jackson, Macon, Overton, as well as Smith, and areas in between there to at 12:45 local time. So just gotta really be careful there. Gotta be really watching this potential here. These winds are so nasty. By the way, they did kind of go to more 70 mile an hour wind potential toward some of these areas in northeast Alabama with the latest warning toward Albertville, Scottsboro, Fort Payne, Boaz, Gunnersville, Rainsville, Stevenson, Crossville, Sylvania there. So you kind of get the idea. This wind potential kind of shifting around a little bit on us, but still significant here. Still can be dangerous and not deadly. So got to keep that in mind. Got to keep that in mind. I know hear the wind whipping even in North Florida right now. Definitely hear that. The temperature's warm, but then your winds. Look at these gusts. I mean, these purple icons are tropical storm force gusts there. They get down toward Tampa even. I mean, these winds here with our METARs, you don't rarely see this. The wind pattern is so widespread. More so in toward Tennessee and toward North Alabama. But, I mean, our low pressure here is up there in the areas there. It looks like around Evansville. And you have really strong winds there on the north side of things that could be causing power outages near Decatur and Illinois. I mean, this is a wind event that is just stretching so far there, like you rarely see it, and it's having an impact here, folks. I mean, we're talking about that low pressure way to the north, but I mean, with Tampa getting the gusts like they are, I mean, that's 650 miles away as a crow flies. This low pressure having an impact down there. With the overall grand scheme of things. Again, this is something that's more reminiscent in some ways. I mean, especially for the areas closer to it versus areas further out. But areas closer to it, it's more like a tropical system here moving on in. So, in some ways, I mean, it's not completely the same. There's a lot of differences too. But just to have this low of a pressure here, I know looking back in some of the history books there in the weather world, I mean. You have to go back. I mean, some remnants of some of the hurricanes there definitely are kind of rivaling what we're seeing here. Actually, this is a little bit stronger against setting records. This low pressure here in the 970s. I mean, again, you rarely see that. I'm going to look at some of our stations real quick here with the pressure because that could help us out a little bit. I mean, we're 979 in Harrisburg, 979 millibars, 979 there in Sturgis. At 978 in Henderson City there as we get toward areas there a little bit further over toward the east there in Kentucky. So and in Evansville, I mean, their pressure is at 979. I mean, that is a pressure like what we got. I mean, if we have any local viewers to watch them, that's the pressure we got during Irma here in north central Florida, Hurricane Irma toward the Stark area. So it's interesting to see that. We just got a new warning now more for destructive type winds now. Moving in towards some of these different areas there toward Jackson and Franklin counties. Jackson County, Alabama, Franklin County, Tennessee. We could have 80-mile-an-hour wind as we're needing folks to really stay away from windows because we could literally have things breaking those windows right now here because of the velocity there and the force of the wind. So I got to be really careful there. New tornado warning, by the way, in Indiana. Now they're getting up toward areas around Evansville, so downtown Evansville now under a tornado warning. It looks like this is for Posey, Vanderburgh, Henderson, and Union counties here. So let's go ahead and get over to other mode. I want to see if we have a good look at the Evansville radar. I know in Lawrence County there's at least 20 incidents involving power lines. There and over 8,000, almost 9,000 customers affected. Numerous trees are blocking roads. There's just so many incidents right now that they're just too hard to list here separately as the wind is just completely causing chaos here, I would say, for some of these different areas. Really impacting that lifestyle of many folks here. As I know, we have that tornado threat moving up toward parts of southern Indiana right now. Toward Evansville and Vanderburgh County. We have a tornado warning. We have some areas of rotation here. The Weather Service telling us that at 12:18 local time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is near the Corydon area there, or 9 miles northeast of Breckenridge Center. This is moving northeast at about 55 miles an hour. The possible tornado there. Also, let's get back down toward Jackson and Franklin counties as we just got a new tornado warning issued now for some different areas down there. So let's go ahead and switch modes with that radar view back down to the high top site. So again, getting some new alerts coming on out here in this vicinity. They're hard to pick out these circulations, but just know how strong these winds are here, folks. I mean, these are just destructive winds. Those cell phones being alerted because of how bad these winds are. talking about really nasty weather in that vicinity. They're saying it's more even focused toward areas like Bridgeport, Stevenson, Cowan, Skyline, Sewanee there, Anderson, High Top, but right into the radar site there. With some of those even those more destructive winds. So I mean, it kind of depends. Some of these areas may not have those phones going off again. Out toward the east is talking more about 70-mile-an-hour winds here in the chat, but 70, 80 is still, I mean, that's getting up there, going to cause problems, no doubt. So, got to be really cognizant of that here. As again, this is a rare situation. Again, about the lowest low pressure we ever had in this part of the country here. I mean, if you'd had other parameters in play, I mean, we have even more of a tornado threat than we're seeing. We haven't really had an overwhelming tornado threat, but the wind threat here is just about the highest as you'll ever get here in this part of the country with all the different factors coming into play. I mean, you see our new, it looks like tornado warning popping up there out toward areas there of Marion County in eastern Tennessee now. We're talking about areas there 10 miles northwest of Bridgeport or 10 miles north of Stevenson, moving northeast at 65 miles an hour. So that's a tornado warning issued by the Morristown office from Marion County there in Tennessee. So really just got to be cognizant of that rotation as it comes on in. It's kind of hard to pick out on this mode at least, but going to keep checking some different sources here. Again, we were kind of thinking last night on Twitter and our update there at the end of our live stream that maybe it will be more about tornadoes there in Tennessee and Kentucky. Well, it looks like really it's been about just extreme wind. It's been an extreme wind event here for areas, and especially North Alabama. I mean, there's just widespread trees down across the city of Coleman here, folks. Being told a roof was blown off a garage in Dover, there in Stewart County, Tennessee, is kind of just continue to watch everything here with the Doppler radar technology. Again, we rarely stay on for stuff like this here with these type of tornado warnings in play being a lower level of those, but severe thunderstorm warnings are at the highest level of concern here in some of these areas. These winds are just completely whipping here into these areas. I mean, these are about the strongest winds you ever see outside of tornadoes here in this part of the country. It's really just a nasty situation. It's like a tropical storm / low-wind hurricane moving through some of these areas very rapidly. I mean, the duration isn't as long, but I mean, we're hearing all these reports of problems is unfortunate. So, again, still checking some things behind the scenes. The power outage numbers, even in Florida, we don't really have any rain, but the outage numbers in Florida even going up with just the winds whipping. I mean, even in parts of north central Florida, a few customers losing power in Union County here in Florida. So let me go ahead and get to our local view again so I don't confuse you guys too much. We're jumping all over the place here, but I mean, I hear all these beeps. There's nothing really on the radar in terms of rain here, but yeah, we have 22,057 customers out of power in the state of Florida right now. Jackson County, nearly 2,000 in the dark there. Over 1,000 customers in the dark in Leon County. Over 1,000 in the dark in Duval County here toward Jacksonville. Citrus County, almost 3,000 in the dark. Seeing some outages there. Marion County, about 500 customers in the dark. Alachua County, over 200 people. They are actually customers, some more people than that in the dark. You kind of get the idea. It's just really adding up here, folks. Really adding up. Looking at some of our numbers here, just trying to get you guys a perspective. Nearly 2,000 in the dark in Polk County, over 1,000 in Hillsborough County. It's just because of the wind here, folks. As I put that back on the map, I mean, those meteors kind of help tell a story. There's purples and just the ones with the more notches on them. Just the best way to describe it. That's indicative of stronger wind gusts. I mean, you don't see this type of wind pattern very often. Just such a wide ranging here in nature. As we go back toward the north now, we're just going to keep checking things here. Keep giving you guys the latest. We have 40, or let's see what that was there, 47,400 or so, actually more, a little over that now. New updates here, 47,543 customers in the dark in Mississippi. Alabama, almost 75,000 customers in the dark. That might be underdone a little bit. Tennessee, over 94,000 customers in the dark. Kentucky there, almost 15,000 folks in the dark there. So, and then Texas still from yesterday, 69,000, 43 customers in the dark. So, and even from stuff outdoor California with some of our setups here recently, just looking out there, I mean, we still have some power outages in that state as well. So, that's noteworthy too, as their Washington area, it looks like concern approaching Guntersville. So that's something to take note of here as well. Again, a very unique pattern here, folks. A very rare pattern to see, again, that type of low pressure never really recorded here in this part of the country this deep. I mean, when we talk about lower pressure, we're talking about a stronger storm, a stronger setup with that aspect of things. It didn't always mean the worst severe weather. And now in terms of tornadoes, it hadn't verified in that regard. But in terms of wind, these winds here have been destructive in some cases here, folks, knocking down trees all over the place in Coleman, Alabama, Coleman County, Alabama, for instance. I mean, just in that general region, we're seeing a lot of power outages. I'm going to take that county in particular on our maps here. And we just got a new update, and we're now in the red in Tennessee and Alabama with power outages. We're now over 100,000 in the dark there in terms of customers in each state, as you kind of would expect here in that new update. I mean, we're talking about just outages all over the place. Coleman County, 14,000 customers in the dark out of 42,000. I'm a little surprised it's not even higher than that. That's about let's do the math here real quick on the fly, about a third of the customers in the dark there. So again, that tells the weather story, folks. That's problematic. This wind is just whipping here all in many zones here. It can be really dangerous and not deadly. You don't want to treat like a vulnerable home because that could really be problematic. So again, just continuing to watch Madison County, Alabama, over 21,000 customers in the dark there. So these winds, again, they're just really causing big time problems. These winds here, Tennessee now, 120,044 customers in the dark. Davidson County, surprisingly, only 8,000, but other counties in the state, a little bit different story. Lawrence County, over 9,000 customers in the dark there. These winds, again, just extreme here, extreme winds. I mean, you just don't see this stuff. You just don't see this stuff. I know a large tree down in Sheffield there, a very large tree. This stuff is just very unusual in nature here. As we get toward northwestern Georgia now, destructive storms now. This is one that's going off on the phone, and those phones are the cellular devices. Catoosa, Walker, and Dade counties now, northwest Georgia, destructive storms for areas like Lookout Mountain and Ringgold here. These winds, again, going to be coming through, and they're just going to be really causing big-time problems there. This destructive wind event, destructive nature here to all of this. So we're just continuing to give you guys the latest here. We're trying to make sure you guys know exactly what to expect here. But it's an anomalous event here for sure. As we check, I know a person's been injured in Talladega County there in Alabama by a tree on a vehicle to just the gradient winds. Just all sorts of different wind reports coming on out here. Really telling the story. So again, you see all our different indicators here. Numerous power poles down in Benton County, Tennessee. Singles going off a roof, a sign destroyed there in parts of Murray and Callaway County, Kentucky. So this is an anomaly in terms of an event here for sure. Pole barn damaged in Kristen County, Kentucky. 76 mile an hour gust there, way out ahead on the mountain area there. Looks like in Sevier County, Tennessee, Cove Mountain Tower. So that kind of goes to see a higher elevation will kind of do that to some degree, but again, very nasty, this stuff here that we're talking about. Considerable damage toward Cumberland, areas there around DeKalb, Fentress, Overton, Putnam, Van Buren, Warren, and White counties in Tennessee. So the 70 mile an hour wind we're talking about there, that's not good to be in terms of just a mobile home, for instance. A mobile home really might have some issues. I mean, it's already coming in, though, some of these areas around Cookeville here. The wind's just really whipping here this afternoon, unfortunately. I know these aren't tornado warnings, but you know, I just have to treat them like that, lower level of those type of winds there in that grand scheme of things. So, again, just checking some more information right now, trying to see exactly what our numbers look like. Even Kentucky, almost 30,000 customers in the dark there in that state. So just kind of seeing all these added numbers here continue to add up, continue to be a problem here for folks as the day goes on here without electricity. It's going to take a little bit for some of these areas to be repaired. I mean, it may take the crews a little longer to get out there because with the wind still going to some degree here, it would take a little longer for it to be safe for those preparations and those repairs to be done. So, I mean, you just got to really be careful with a roof blown off an unoccupied building there, one mile north of downtown Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. The damage to a strip mall there on First Avenue immediately behind it. So these winds again just packing a punch here. A very nasty situation that we're tracking. I will continue to give you guys the latest on here. We're just continuing to make sure you guys stay safe, you stay informed here on everything that's happening. As we're still live with you on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, Twitch as well, just to give you guys the very latest. So I think right now we're going to take a quick break in the coverage as we gather new information. Just really seeing exactly what's going on here with everything to where these different communities, this widespread wind event here. Very rare to see something like this, as we've continued to allude to. We'll be back in about 9 minutes with more information, so keep it during the cloud weather. We'll keep you guys up to date.
This is
I know we're back with you now. Our computer going a little bit slow here on this Friday. It's at a workout here, but you can see all the different alerts that we're getting here toward the south. Even unfortunately, some very tragic news coming out of the Talladega County area in Alabama. Fatality reported from the gradient winds now because of a tree falling on a vehicle. So you just hearing about stuff like that. But I also got some confirmed tornado warnings now to tell you about. So the one BP discharge for a confirmed tornado near the community of Sexton there, or near Scottsboro in Alabama, moving northeast at about 40 miles an hour. So again, just continuing to stick with you guys here to keep you guys informed on that. So again, I'm just watching some areas of rotation there on that map that apparently are now producing a tornado. At least one of those is, and then we'll keep watching there. But into toward Evansville, things are just rapidly moving here, folks. We put it up on the screen for you guys a moment ago, but confirmed tornado warning in here. You see that area there. Looks like as we get there, maybe more toward areas there north of Quezon up toward areas west of Darmstadt, if I'm pronouncing that right. So just kind of interesting to mention there. As you can see that debris, it looks like it's kind of picking up now a little bit more potentially. So that could be a problematic tornado that we're seeing there in that area as we have winds coming together really strong now. So got to be in shelter. That looks pretty intense. We're really close on the radar there, but tornado warning continuing for parts of Vanderburgh, Posey, and Henderson counties here as we're looking toward the Indiana-Kentucky line area here. Really seeing some nasty wind and potential tornadic acts and really getting down there and causing damage. You just gotta really be really careful in that area because of this. So again, you see that blue area on the screen. As I switch back and forth, that's tornado debris, it appears. As we really need to get folks in shelter, just moving just so quickly here right now off toward the north at 55 miles an hour. So areas there toward the north there like Hobstadt and then Fort Branch there could be in the path over the next little bit as we just continue to watch this situation. So again, we're just trying to give you guys here the very latest. You just see a lot of that blue. And that's not all debris. It's just really, I'll try to point this at actually. Let me go ahead and switch to our pointer here. So this area right in here is where it looked like it was debris, as it was kind of matching up with our signature right in here. The other areas, obviously, I mean, some of that stuff could be stuff getting blown around, but a lot of that just didn't actual stuff to really be looking at here too much in that regard. So I know seeing some different things come on out. I mean, if we have any viewers watching right now, I know Florida, South Georgia, I think it's important to kind of mention as well that we're just getting some more strong wind reports. So as we switch on over to other map right now, I mean, toward the Keystone area, gusts to 40 miles an hour recently. We're just going to have to keep tracking that here with that situation. I mean, these winds here knock out some power in some cases, even outside any shower action, even gust to 50 there in Valdosta, the ambient weather station there. So these winds are problematic in some ways, but I know the storm of the moment right now in Tennessee and the Nashville jurisdiction they're saying is in parts of Putnam and White counties there, and also just seeing here more information here with just the winds at 80 to 90 miles an hour being a possibility as this axis moves into northwestern Georgia. So you see that destructive severe thunderstorm warning for areas like Lafayette there. And then again, you have the tornado warning out toward the west as well. So that's obviously problematic for folks as we're looking at our different modes here. Just trying to give you guys the very latest. We're just trying to see exactly what's happening over some of these different areas. They're going to get a tornado on the ground here. And over this vicinity, it looks like maybe multiple areas of rotation now here. I'm trying to sew up there as we get there, as we look further on up. Let me look at this real quick. It looks like still in Vanderburgh County, and I take off the tornado warning real quick here. The ones for the confirmation, and still in Vanderburgh County there with the worst of this, pretty north of Evansville. Some of the worst of this right now, causing damage. So Again, still windy situation here for areas even that are getting cleared out of a tornado watch. So something to keep in mind for sure. As we go ahead and zoom back out a little bit, I want to make sure you guys know exactly what's going on here in this type of situation because of the big national implications of this type of power outage situation. We're not over 125,000 customers in the dark in Alabama. As I know, it's just important for folks out ahead of this accident in Northwest Georgia, for instance, to charge their devices. But looking there in parts of Tennessee, over 155,000 customers in the dark right now. So that really just kind of goes to see how forceful these winds are, how really disruptive to the daily life cycle these winds are. So got to keep that in mind. As I know, more tornado watch areas again keep getting cleared toward areas around Nashville, but we're just gonna have to keep watching here as these threats here for some areas that with the wind continue. The tornado threat still continues there further on off toward the east. I mean, let's look at our tornado 10% risk here. Lexington, Kentucky under that. As we just continue to see here, you see some nasty weather around Cookeville there and parts of Tennessee as well. Northeastern Alabama, again, a confirmed tornado still being indicated there. Looks like 13 miles east of Scottsboro, moving northeast at 50 miles an hour. And it looks like an overturned camper there, Ryan Street, in the community of Sexton. As we get into toward this area, so it can always be really dangerous, obviously. As we just continue to check the latest information as it comes on out. It looks like there may have been some debris there over the Sexton area earlier on, but it's not 100% clear. We'll see if Weather Service confirms that here from the actual tornado debris signature standpoint, but it does seem like there was a tornado reported there, as we have again several now destructive severe thunderstorm warnings here in play. The ones down here, the one for parts of Catoosa, Walker, and Dade counties, and then another one there toward Jackson County in Alabama. So confirmed tornado warning there for DeKalb there, and also Jackson. And then as we get there further on up, you can see here we have them up toward areas there just north of Bowling Green. A new one issued just recently by the Louisville offices for Perry County in Indiana, Hancock in Kentucky, as well as Butler, Grayson, Hardin, Breckenridge in Ohio there, and then Kentucky. And then you see here the purple areas for confirmed tornadic activity. So definitely worth noting in that regard. And then just have to keep taking shelter into your room away from windows. I mean, that goes for these destructive severe thunderstorm warnings too, though. That are going off on those alert systems there on that phone. So again, just gonna have to keep checking here. We're just checking some more now. Maybe not a debris signature on that Alabama storm is what the Weather Service is saying, but nonetheless, I mean, a situation where there may be again confirmation there that it was on the ground by the Jackson County Sheriff. So also I see in there just really crazy stuff showing up, but some of the wind they're thankfully being displaced here. The speeds are from some of the circulations that have been warned on, which is good in some ways because we're not getting the tornadoes to really come together. The winds are just having such a forcefulness to them today on that national level. You see Chattanooga there, maybe 70-mile-an-hour winds moving through there as we're looking toward some of those areas there. Toward, I mean, we have Marion, Hamilton County, Lamont, the Les Fletcher County as well. So again, just going to have to keep looking here at our maps. Weather Service and the chat, there's a report now from Emergency Management of a tornado on the ground, County Road 6, possibly rain-wrapped. Now they're saying County Road 61. So you got to be taking shelter there. You got to be really getting an interior room away from windows here as we're looking at things. Definitely a dangerous afternoon here across parts of the country. Already had one fatality earlier on from the gradient winds there in Talladega County, Alabama. So thoughts and prayers to everybody impacted there. as that was because unfortunately we had a tree fall on a vehicle, and I know that happened during Elsa toward Jacksonville. They're back as we got there a couple years, and you just hate hearing about stuff like that, obviously, because it doesn't maybe take the severe wind or something that looks dangerous, really, to be deadly in some cases. So you got to keep that in mind in some of these scenarios. So, again, just continuing to watch things, continuing to track everything. I think we're going to take another break in the coverage for now, so keep it tuned. The cloud weather will keep you guys up to date here on this Friday afternoon as we watch a pretty big severe weather threat across the country, an enhanced risk here, and we're watching the several storms capable of producing damage and destructive winds here, as you even have the tornado warnings, the confirmed tornado warnings right now with the purple on the screen. So, by the way, we're just getting word now. This is just coming in out of our area, our covered area. The wind is just so strong that it's now knocked a tree down on a vehicle in Lanier County at the high school. So hopefully nobody was in that. Hopefully the timing worked out where nobody was in that with the school day. But we'll find out more on that in a little bit. So these winds are packing a punch in many states here. We'll see you back in about 9 minutes with more information. Keep it tuned here to everybody. Everybody just want to keep watching because we'll keep you guys informed. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center right now, just after 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central on this Friday as we continue to track the severe weather situation here across portions of the country. You can see in that orange area that's an enhanced risk of severe weather and play a 3 out of 5 danger as we look even further downstream toward the east here. I mean, right now, just one tornado warning in play in the purple, but you have several destructive severe thunderstorm warnings here in play toward Indiana, toward parts of Kentucky, even in northeastern Alabama, northwestern Georgia. The one in northwestern Georgia is for parts of Catoosa, Dade, and Walker counties. So again, a very strong, historically strong low pressure for this part of the country. I mean, just for perspective, it's like what you would see, the type of pressure in a Category 1 hurricane. You rarely see this. I mean, again, this is a record setter for parts of the heartland here today. So, Roy telling that other story how dangerous this is in some ways, but it has not, in terms of the tornado threat, Roy been just a terrible one. It doesn't seem so far, but still definitely a problem here for different communities. Seeing tornadoes touch down here and there, so that's still a big deal in and of itself as we just continue to watch here. Just have to see exactly what is going on. I know even after the storms come through, you have strong winds as well. I mean, you see the winds even north part of South Georgia, the 40 to 50 range. We rarely see that here outside of storms. We thought earlier in the week we'd have some severe weather potential to the south, but that really doesn't look like the case at this point. I mean, the winds weren't that far off of damaging levels. They have been damaging in some ways here today. As we look here toward areas like Lanier County, a tree falling on a vehicle at a high school there. So that's noteworthy in and of itself, but you don't see like much in the way of convexity. You really couldn't probably get a tornado to develop, and it would be hard without convexing to warning. It's just a thunderstorm warning, anything like that. So we'll have to watch. I mean, there's going to be maybe a little bit higher rain chances as we look at toward tomorrow, but I'm not going to see as much rain from this as maybe what we were looking at here in some of our guidance, but I still could have some rain that tries to kind of form here along boundaries as this stuff kind of is around. So that's something to keep in mind. But you see no thunderstorm risk even to the south now, so that kind of precludes much of a severe threat. As you get toward the north, though, more than a risk toward Macon there. I mean, that is Clifton County there, and some of our far northern South Georgia counties. So we'll keep our eyes out. And the wind threat is, of course, still prominent and dangerous, but we're right now down to 3 destructive severe thunderstorm warnings in the country. One there for Catoosa, Dade, and Walker. Then we have a couple up here. Let me take off the other severe thunderstorm warnings here so we can clean this up a little bit. Or actually, let's try that again to take off the considerable, leave the destructive, of course. And those are your destructive wind danger areas right now as we're looking there near Tell City, near Leachfield. So we just got to keep watching there. And you see later on, even Lexington, Kentucky, Knoxville, Tennessee here with a threat. Pikeville, Kentucky, Asheville, North Carolina, toward Greenville, South Carolina. So we'll just be watching. We'll be waiting to see the latest. It looks like they've gone with a considerable damage, severe thunderstorm warning now toward some of these areas here. So we're just continuing to check the latest here in the Weather Center. I'm just trying to give you guys the very latest updates that should pop up here on this board in just a second here. So I'm just going to make sure you guys know exactly what's going on with that. I want to make sure you guys are getting the latest information. And it's becoming a situation where it's still very impactful, no doubt, but because of the overall wind pattern, as I go ahead and put up our other warnings again, so you see that there are warnings in between here in a lot of these areas, but it's starting to become a situation where we may not continue the coverage here because it's a little bit more of a localized situation in terms of just the impacts here, not being just completely up and down the line, not in the most populated areas, not just being maybe what you would call just destructive in many places here. More of a local weather story versus a national weather story, but it's still impactful enough for now. We'll stick with it a little longer, but if we go off here, we'll probably just kind of send you there to cloudweather.com/radar, giving you guys that information there, being that is a place to go here when we're not on, to check to see exactly how things are going with the weather situation. I mean, because you'll be able to see storms as they're moving across, and we'll look back out to the south into the high wind warning continuing for areas like Catoosa, Dade, Fannin, Gilmore, Murray, Walker, Whitfield, and that's a situation that's already promoting some really dangerous winds even before you talk about the severe storms we went through that are pushing even more of that potential down. But I know the Ward Tennessee, the Weather Service in Nashville saying these winds are going nuts with the front. So lots of power outages across the area and trees and power poles down. So just be careful if you're out and about. This is a bigger threat instead of the storms in some ways. I mean, the winds are just incredible here because of low pressure. So I don't think the threat's over after the storms come through here, as the wind is still just whipping out there this afternoon. A very unusual situation indeed. As I look at the latest power outage numbers from PowerOutage.us, I know in Florida we're down to about 10,000 customers in the dark, but in Alabama, 131,965 customers in the dark. In Tennessee, 167,443. Almost 50,000 in Kentucky, over 10,000, almost 11,000 in Illinois, almost 9,000 in Indiana. So you kind of get the idea as we continue to check the numbers here. Just seeing a lot of trees falling here, and that can be dangerous if not deadly, like we already saw. It was already deadly with the gradient wind toward Talladega there, as we were looking toward the south. So you always got to keep that in mind here as well, as we just try to give you guys the latest information this afternoon. We just continue to check. I know trees being reported down at, it looks like areas there on Poplar Springs Road. Also Roach Hollow Road as well. So again, just going to keep checking here. More reports. You see Chattanooga getting some strong wind. Cleveland, Tennessee will be in line here in a little bit as well. So keep that in mind. Talk about gusts closer to 70 miles an hour. Latest warning there. I know we're checking areas like Bledsoe County out, McMinn County, Hamilton County. Just seeing so many trees being knocked down here. It's just a really dangerous event here in that regard. Even again outside the storms in some ways, before and after the storms even. I mean, the storms are definitely a focal point, but before and after even, you have some big problems. So keep that in mind as we look up toward parts of Kentucky and Indiana. We're going to have 80-mile-an-hour winds toward Tell City, Hawesville, Leachfield as well. So also looking toward areas there and just south central Indiana being impacted there by these really strong winds. Eventually, even areas closer toward Louisville be impacted here. That's a heads up. That should be Louisville right there. I just got to get it on a map, but that's headed in that general direction. So a heads up if you guys are in Louisville, that can knock out a lot of power and stuff moving northeast at 75 miles an hour. So that could be getting into toward Louisville within the next half hour, give or take. Maybe just a 45-minute time frame there, but still, head that way. Got to be prepared. Charge up those devices in Louisville. This wind is packing a significant punch here with this line, but even behind it, I mean, this wind pattern is just almost outrageous. Again, never seen a pressure this low in this part of the country, it seems. So, record setter here, it appears. I mean, I guess we'll get some verification of some of those factors here later on, and just the overall statistics. Again, we're just going to keep watching. I know the temperatures on the back side of this are incredibly low, 30s and 40s in Missouri, but to the east we have 50s, 60s, I mean 70s here in some cases, the southeast. Hearing about traffic lights out there in northeast Alabama as well. Highway 72 and Bank Street, Stevenson, and Highway 35 at Highway 71 in Saxon. It is just a problematic situation that we're continuing to track here. I mean, as bad as these winds have been, at least we're not just getting widespread devastating tornadoes, which started to look like a threat here last night in the models. I hadn't really verified, but these winds are just verifying everywhere here like we haven't seen in a long time. So this is just a significant wind event here, folks. Historic level type of wind event in some ways because that low pressure here playing a big role. I know our parameters here, our tornado parameters are there really significantly. We're lucky we're not getting stuff to really pop there further to the south and east central Alabama, for instance. There is some stuff that's kind of in the vicinity. We'll keep our eyes on it because those parameters, if we were to get set up to really evolve down there, and it's not expected to based on the models, but if it did, we'd have a problem on our hands. But we just got a tornado warning in part of, it looks like, Indiana here. Latest update coming in, South Central Indiana, a tornado warning for, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, this came out of the Louisville office, but either Dubois or Dubois or something to that effect. That's the county name, one of them. And then we also have Crawford, Perry, and Orange. And I try my best here from the national level perspective to give you guys pronunciation of these county, city names, but sometimes they're kind of tough if you haven't heard of them. So just want to give you guys an indication where we could have a tornado, though, located near the community of Dale, moving northeast at 60 miles an hour. So, again, a nasty situation there. We just got a new mesoscale discussing, by the way. New tornado watch likely now. Maybe this include Atlanta coming up. That could be an interesting storyline if it does. I mean, the parameters, again, it's a very unusual situation. I mean, the parameters are just extreme if this stuff really were able to get going, but we'll see if it does in that regard. I mean, it's a situation that probably warrants a tornado watch just because of those parameters being there so extremely high. But it's just something we'll have to just keep watching, keep tracking here in the Weather Center. I know a tree was knocked down on power lines in Cherokee County, North Carolina, and it trapped a driver on Country Walk Lane in the Bellevue area there near Highway 129. The Bellevue area there, or Bellevue, I guess that's how you pronounce that up there. I know it is here, but I think you could pronounce that a couple of different ways depending on where you're at there in the ward area. It's 5 miles east of Culberson there. It's from amateur radio. It's considerable damage to DeKalb County, Alabama, though. So gonna keep watching the situation as it progresses. Trying to give you guys the latest information here. Again, these winds eventually will be headed toward the University of Tennessee, so that's something to watch there. Toward Eastern Tennessee over the next little bit with the progression of things. Again, we have this enhanced risk area still covering a wide range in Kentucky here. I mean, that's a large area still that's not been really impacted with the severe thunderstorm warnings so far. So that's something to keep in mind. Toward areas like Lexington, Somerset, Pikeville, you see Keenesport, Tennessee, Asheville, North Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina. So it's kind of a tricky situation here. I know we're also getting reports of a tree on a mobile home as we get toward the areas there around Outer Springs, it looks like, or Outer Spring. I beg your pardon. So again, some information coming on in there. Just checking some more reports as they come on out. So just interesting to get all that data here. Very important to kind of get a handle on things here in that regard as we continue to look here at tornado threat. I mean, we're almost kind of to edges of this now with some of these storms. The higher end tornado threats, that's good, but the wind threat is a much different story. I mean, in terms of the probabilities today, the tornado threat really hadn't been overwhelming. There might have been more spin-ups in there than we realized because the damage could look such similar, so similar, really. I mean, it's just something that could be in such a similar fashion in terms of the pattern that you have to really focus on if it's straight line wind damage or if it's turning there that took place there to cause the damage maybe from a twister. So now keep that in mind. That is here the wind's whipping here in North Florida, South Georgia. If our local viewers are tuning in, there's not much convection here at all on the view. We had a little bit toward Tallahassee earlier. We're at a gust potential of 50, but we've had these winds in the 40 to 50 range. These gusts potentially really just reaching down to the surface where we're at. Looking back here, the numbers aren't quite that high, but we did get a damage report even of a tree falling in Lanier County in our area on a vehicle. So at a high school there, probably the one high school there, I would think, in Lanier County. So that's problematic. I mean, to have something like that come into play. So getting reports of rain gutters blown off a building there 9 miles west of Madison in Davidson County, Tennessee. So you hate hearing about stuff like that. So continuing to watch here, giving you guys the latest. I see the Alabama power outage numbers have dropped a little bit now, which is some good news, down to 94,729 customers in the dark, but Tennessee's at 184,029 customers in the dark. I mean, Davidson County's at 34,182, which honestly isn't as bad as it could be, but there's a lot of other neighboring counties, especially out toward the west and south, that are sitting at pretty high numbers right now, or at least high percentages. So that's something to keep in mind. It looks like areas there, Madison County, Tennessee, for about, it looks like, as I do the math here, just under, it'd be just under half the customers in the dark there. So that's definitely noteworthy in toward that vicinity. Gonna keep watching things here with the radar view. Again, trees reported down on Alabama Highway 33 in the Bankhead Forest area. Also a tree down there. It looks like along County Road 217 north of Highway 24, Alabama Highway 24. Actually, it looks like maybe multiple trees there, and then large tree uprooted in a fallen area there in a fence on the side of the road over to Rogersville in Alabama. So just a lot of reports coming in. Seeing the latest updates come on in. I know it looks like it dropped one of these destructive severe warnings to a considerable, which doesn't mean much maybe to the common viewer or many viewers really, because I mean some in the meteorology world even it's not something that's really set in their mind yet. This new type of a warning setup that we have with the destructive severe, the considerable, or the base, but generally in our local area we have just base severe thunderstorm warnings, the yellow boxes, and sometimes if we don't have a lot of these I won't use it in this mode, but with the higher wind factors here this week I've used this mode here on our screen again where we have the boxes if they're orange just without a black outline in the middle or black line in the middle I guess I should say. We're talking about 70 mile an hour wind, but we have the black line in the middle, talking about 80 mile an hour wind potential like what we're seeing in a few of these areas right now, and that means a destructive severe thunderstorm threat. So I just kind of taking off some of those on the screen and then cleaning it up with these destructive severe thunderstorm warnings, and the red box there is a tornado warning there in Indiana. So again, continuing to track all this here this afternoon. We've been with you for closer to 2 hours now, trying to give you guys the latest information on all this. I know your tornado watches, filling those in. You see the areas in yellow under this. A type of threat still, Indiana, Kentucky. One up there expiring at 5 o'clock Eastern time. The one for parts of Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee going to 4 Central, but some of it's been trimmed out there. A lot of it actually been trimmed back. And then as we look here, just continuing to watch a new tornado watch will probably be issued toward Atlanta here over the next little bit, and maybe areas further even in North Carolina. So some of those neighboring states there could kind of get clipped by that too. We'll just have to wait and see. Again, still watching all these different threats here. Trying to keep you guys up to date on this low pressure situation that's really fueling all this. Roof collapse in the Moulton area there. 12:48 local time, 12:58. Roof collapse there in North Cortland. So that's coming in the Huntsville chat in that area there. I know it's just a very unusual event that we're dealing with. Trees down just all over the place here. Tennessee, Kentucky, North Mississippi. It's just an impactful event for sure. A very anomaly-filled event here as we're looking towards some of these different communities. So it's something to keep in mind here. Possible tornado with structural damage on High Top Road in Jackson County, Alabama. So definitely something to keep in mind there as we go ahead and put back the other warnings so you guys know what we're dealing with just the other severe thunderstorm warnings in play of a little bit lesser but still impactful criteria that's being met. So again, let's get back on over to where it is there around Chattanooga and then northwest Georgia. Right now, let's see exactly what's going on here as we switch modes in our system. You can see this accident even in eastern Alabama trying to come on into the picture. It's again knocking down a lot of power here. Now these winds, these are not your usual severe thunderstorms. It wouldn't be on form here from the national level perspective if they were. But we're seeing stuff that's really escalated over that normal severe thunderstorm criteria into that more destructive type of range at times. That's why we're trying to give you guys the latest information here. You see areas there in Tennessee getting further on over. More of these winds coming on in over the next little bit. Again, just got to keep watching, keep tracking You see all this axe in there, even a gust into almost 60 miles an hour there toward Bradley County, Tennessee. I mean, that's not even getting the worst of the convection. That goes to show you how nasty things are here in the grand scheme of things. Let's go ahead and see the broad perspective again. You see all these little arrows, those gray arrows, or excuse me, those gray boxes there with the arrows in them. Those are just winds away from non-thunderstorm damage there. I mean, that's the type of threat that you're dealing with here. The wind damage that's not from actual thunderstorm activity. So that's problematic, of course. Causing issues here before and after the line, and then during the lines from your thunderstorm accidents. So a very interesting event, very unique event for sure. Just continuing to watch all these latest scans here of the Doppler radar technology. Again, I see little clusters of these worst of the weather coming on through. We're just trying to make sure you guys are staying safe from the national level perspective. Again, seeing some stuff around Ringgold, Georgia here. Some of this is even just out ahead of it, out ahead of the worst in terms of the winds with the thunderstorm activity at least. So, again, something to keep in mind is here the winds whipping around here in north central Florida. You see Dalton, Georgia. Next in line there in Woodfield County. You have Maury County there. We have the high wind warnings in play. So that's something to keep an eye on here as well. With this overall setup, I mean, don't have to have, again, the storm accent as we keep reiterating to you guys here. There's your high wind warning information popping that up. I mean, you don't see this very often. It's rare to see something like this on the maps here. That's in that goldish color on the screen. I mean, you just have these winds just over such a widespread area here. So intense, so significant here. Something that is indicative of more what you see like with tropical storm force conditions in a tropical storm. I mean, these winds are just really whipping all over the place. And again, they're still whipping even here to north central Florida, as they've alluded to this afternoon. So keep that in mind. In fact, I may go ahead and try to take our camera shot here in a moment. Take a look here. I haven't done this in a little while, so I'm going to make sure we can take it okay. And maybe a little bit bright out there, but the winds actually don't look like they're whipping quite as much at the moment. So we may still effort that to you guys though and take that side if you're wondering what things look like where I'm at, way down here in north central Florida. The winds even having an impact here on daily schedule here for folks today though, with the overall pattern that we're in. So again, just got to keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and see actually now. Look outside then. We'll go ahead and take that real quick. You can kind of see things. They're not whipping quite as much, but when advisory is still in play, you see that cloud moving very fast here in the setup. So got to be careful for that wildfire threat here today. Winds picking up a little bit there. I just got to be really cognizant of what's going on here with these gustier wind conditions here in play. Again, you see the trees kind of blowing around. So got to keep that in mind as we get back over to the Doppler now. Get back up to northwest Georgia with this low pressure filling really the overall impact from that in many areas. So again, just still checking some things out here. I want to see how Atlanta gets impacted by all this later on. We'll see how things kind of develop for us here. As again, I just see the gustier winds toward north central Florida there for sure. So. Again, here's a view. We might get a new tornado watch toward Atlanta over the next little bit of that general vicinity. 80% chance of that being issued. Tornado risk there would be more for the brief type of spin-ups, but then you have that damage and wind threat here that could be more of the problematic nature of things. We're also being told more trees and wired down across the areas there. Let's see, where are we at? This is areas here, maybe closer to Tennessee actually. 46,000 without power, according to one emergency manager in Tennessee, with a natural gas leak even due to a tree falling on utilities. So gotta keep that in mind there. All these reports coming in. You just gotta keep watching. DeKalb County, I know more trees down at Powell, the Blake community and Dogtown community occurred during the event. and then near Lake Gunnersville, State Park entrance, a tree down with a road blockage. So these trees are just falling everywhere. I mean, everywhere you're seeing the trees just fall down here in this event this afternoon. So gotta keep that in mind. I know New Smith Thursday morning for parts of Catoosa, Fanning, Gilmer, Gordon, Murray, Walker, Whitfield counties endured at a 3:15 for the considerable severe thunderstorm threat here that we're watching with things. And as we get back, I know we're just watching things here from the national and local perspectives. Strong winds around here for what it's worth. I know the big events happening next week to North Florida, South Georgia. We didn't have a formal update last night because we were in the severe weather coverage. But just a quick kind of glance at what we're expecting in the future here. Maybe not a lot of precip necessarily, but we could have a cool down as we get toward next weekend. That could be kind of interesting to see here. Very interesting to see, maybe talking about readings that are, instead of being above average, actually below average for a change here. So I know there's just several events going on. Bradford County Fair, the Players Golf Tournament, just to name a couple of them here next week. So keep that in mind. The weather there could be okay. It's just a matter of some different factors in play. And I know we keep getting the latest updates here in the Weather Center. So just got to be careful for that wildfire risk here as we have these gusty winds out here today in play as we continue to watch things. That windy pattern tomorrow. Temperature a little cooler, but not too much. I mean, 70s and then back in the 80s for a while before maybe a cool down later next week. We'll see, but rain chances aren't all that high here. I mean, the highest chance will be later tonight and early tomorrow here toward north central Florida. And then that kind of does linger really into toward today, tomorrow with some type of threat, maybe a little bit in terms of that coverage being limited here at times, though. But we'll just keep watching, keep tracking here everything. And I'm going to double check, actually, that number from that emergency manager there in Tennessee is 4.6 thousand without power, not 46,000. So it's been a long day, but typo there. So it looks like we just got a new update, and if this is the case, that Roy continues to be that storyline here for the next little bit. We may wrap it up here pretty soon because it's becoming more of a situation. It's still very important to local folks being impacted, but it's a windy situation you just got to be aware of here on the national level. Maybe not enough for us to stay on for. We are out of those destructive severe thunderstorm warnings for the time being, with a lot of considerable damage tags though, which could still be impactful. We'll be watching some wind around Atlanta, hopefully not severe tornadic or anything in that realm. It's not out of the question though by any means, but hopefully it won't get to that. And then you have Knoxville, some nasty wind next little bit. Louisville, maybe winds to 70 over the next little bit there. We'll have to keep watching the warning just to the southwest is for parts of Harrison, Crawford, Perry, Meade, and Breckenridge counties there. Kentucky, Indiana, that region, the parameters, you can kind of see they're a little displaced here in some ways, but also back down to the south, Catoosa, Chautauqua County there in Georgia. Emergency managers are reporting a tree blocking the road there at Rocky Hollow Road in Mahan. Also in Tennessee, Robertson County, roof damage and down fences. I know, just one of the TV stations there in Huntsville, over 500 reported damage there. Coming into one of the meteorologists, the chief meteorologist at the NBC station. So that kind of tells the storyline there. With just so much happening there all over the place in North Alabama today. What an event. What a quick moving event. What an impactful event for them. Probably the worst of it was in North Alabama, it seems, so far. But Tennessee, I mean, the power outage number that's a little higher there, and the wind, is just kind of hanging around more before and after because of the nature of the situation with the low pressure being a little bit closer in toward that region. So it's an impactful event. I got to watch Louisville next little bit. Cincinnati later on. You have Knoxville, Tennessee. Going to be getting some gustier winds. Those seem like areas that could have more problems. We'll watch Lexington, but right now it's looking like a little bit less for them. We'll see. It could change. But Atlanta may be a little less for them as well. So we'll be paying attention here in the Weather Center. We'll keep you guys advised if we need to here in terms of any more live coverage or streams. But I think we're about to wrap things up here in the next few moments. just because it's more of a situation that's more important to maybe local level viewers here in these local areas versus being something we need to be on from the national perspective here at this point. It's still a very windy situation, though. A incredibly low and deep pressure here, pressure system that we're dealing with. So you can see that there, the ward areas there. Southwest Indiana, I'm getting just a very low pressures there. So a tornado warning for the next few minutes there, 12 to be exact here, as we look there in this red box as we try to get toward the community of Birdseye, for instance. So watching that vicinity there very closely from that national level perspective. Let me see what else we got here. We'll go ahead and take off our pressure pattern for now. We'll zoom back out a little bit. A ringgold, a tree in the roadway on Houston Valley Road, the Catoosa Ringgold area. So just got to keep our eyes on that potential here. North Georgia is going to have some problems, far North Georgia. Maybe from around Gainesville off toward the northern Georgia here. You see Jasper. Hopefully Atlanta Metro, they'll miss out on the worst of this, though. It's not out of the question that they get a little bit more, but we'll keep watching. It looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning with a destructive tag was just issued, unfortunately, as things move closer toward Louisville now. So this is for parts of Harrison, Crawford, Perry, Meade, and Breckinridge counties. 2:31 Eastern Time, 1:31 Central. Severe thunderstorms. They were located along a line extending from near the community of Engliston near Brandenburg, moving northeast to 80 miles an hour. So the Corydon community there, or Corydon community there, potentially in the path over the next little bit. And Louisville a little bit later on in the timeline. Got to keep an eye on this. There's a tornado possible tag in here, which is a little bit concerning. So we're just going to have to keep watching. Keep tracking the movements northeast at 80 miles an hour. So just tracking some of this off. 30 minutes toward Louisville. That's less than a half hour. So it's time to get prepared around Louisville for some very strong wind. Maybe destructive wind to move into that ACC town there, Atlantic Coast Conference town. You got to be really mindful of that potential as it does try to move in toward Louisville there in north central parts there of Kentucky, really. So again, just have to keep on monitoring all our Doppler radar trends. Let's go to velocity after. I want to see exactly how bad that looks since they have that destructive tag. It gives me a little bit of pause, maybe thinking we need to stay on a little bit longer with this. So let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got as we continue along here. Now I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit. I've been busy the last a couple of days with this. Going back to Sunday, we were on there for a while as well. So, and it's the changing weather pattern. That's just kind of the nature of things sometimes. So apologize if we kind of stutter around a little bit sometimes, but it's a one-man band, so we're just trying to do the best we can here at Cloud Weather to keep you, your friends, and your family protected. Let's see those winds around Louisville. I'll get that up here in about 10 seconds or so as we hear some tornado watch cancellations in Tennessee toward the Knoxville jurisdiction. So that's some good news for folks. But yeah, that wind is really showing up here. Headed in the direction of Louisville. Let's see that. You see that bright blue there, just not too far away from US 60. Let me go ahead and pop that on here where I can see the mouse, in fact, for that. Right in here. Seeing that bright wind axe in there coming on in toward the picture, toward Louisville. So that could be some wind again toward 80 miles an hour. So we get a new destructive severe thunderstorm warning issued there. And that's a problem for these areas. Instead of just the winds that are more in that 60 range, you have bigger concerns with 80 mile an hour threats here of that gust potential coming on in. So got to keep our eyes on that there. That's definitely some intense wind that we're tracking. Definitely some intense wind that we're tracking in the Doppler. I know looking back down to the south there toward Cheatham County in Tennessee, a report around Coopertown there. 1-inch tree limbs broken, shingles broken off. So that may have come in there. That did come in, I think, just maybe through the automated system. But I'm going to keep checking things here. That wind that kind of gives me pause a little bit. I don't want to wrap things up since that wind's looking so strong now headed for Louisville. That's really showing up pretty badly here with that blue on the screen, with that destructive wind potential now really starting to become a little more prominent again. I mean, that's right there with the storm accent too, so that can really get down to the surface and be really dangerous for people around Louisville in north central Kentucky. So again, gotta just keep watching, keep tracking. I'll go ahead and see what we have here. Just continuing to give you guys the latest. We're just seeing exactly what's going on here. You see that tornado signature looking pretty well defined there. In toward this red box area there, even in other areas toward Crawford County, you see some wind enhancement. Gotta keep our eyes on that. I know there's a gust in Springfield, Tennessee now, just recently to 64 knots, which is really getting up there in that 70 range or so. That's pretty impressive wind there. As we continue to look at everything, we're in storm relative right now if you're wondering what we're looking at. I know our system's really taking its time here today, moving through some stuff because our system has really been overworked recently. But also in Wilson County, Tennessee, homes, buildings completely destroyed now, being reported 2 miles south of Mount Juliet. So you're hearing about stuff like that, maybe more indicative of just, something more than just a wind or thunderstorm wind, even maybe more like tornado damage. But they're saying right now this is from the non-thunderstorm wind, so that is impressive. That is really impressive here. I'm looking here to see what else is going on. I know I'm gonna see what the Louisville office is thinking about some stuff here. So bear with me. Again, these destructive winds headed toward Louisville here over the next little bit. So let me go ahead and see what they got for us here as we continue along. I want to make sure we kind of get a good idea on what's happening here on this situation on this Friday. And you're trying to get ready for that weekend. Unfortunately, these storms are a hindrance to folks in parts of our country. Even locally, the winds are gusty today. Not really seeing the storminess around, but these winds are definitely gusty here on this Friday. So keep that in mind. A gust of 46 recently there at the Gainesville Airport area. Even, I mean, that's only 12 off of severe. So what a wind pattern this is. What a wind pattern this is when you think about it. As we continue along here, I'll give you guys the very latest. I know, seeing exactly what's being discussed here. I know this destructive wind potential is so serious. We just have to keep watching everything. Have to keep watching multiple trees down there in Hardinsburg. So that's being reported in now. Some very nasty gusts, 75-mile-an-hour gusts into Breckinridge County, Kentucky, Mesonet Station. Trees down all over the highway. There, Highway 86 in Stinsville community in Breckinridge County. That's just really unusual to hear about stuff like that. We're just going to do tornado watch, by the way, issued now for parts of the Atlanta jurisdiction. So kind of keep our eyes on everything in that regard. As this wind here, we're going to stick with this at least if this gets past Louisville, I think, because it sounds like we're going to have some problems around Louisville here with this wind really showing up. I have a mouse on it there, and that's problematic. So let's see what we have with the new tornado watch. So that was issued by the Atlanta office. They did include Atlanta and some other areas here up to the north. A pretty wide-ranging watch, actually, as we look from Atlanta to the north. So let me switch over to other mode. You can see our yellow area to the east there now. Atlanta, I mean, that does not just include Atlanta, that includes Athens, the University of Georgia. I said we're Greenville, South Carolina. Asheville, North Carolina is in there as well. So Kingsport, Tennessee. So that threat here is still extending off for a good bit. I mean, that threat goes all the way to 8 o'clock tonight. So we'll be watching and see if we get some spin-up tornadoes here in toward that vicinity. They're more about spin-up tornadoes now versus anything really strong, probably. I mean, with the wind pattern, though, you couldn't, I guess, roll out a quick, like EF2 tornado down to the surface, though. But looking at the probabilities, they've dropped off a pretty good bit there from what we were seeing a little bit earlier on. So, again, tornado watch down at 8 o'clock for Atlanta, though. It won't last that long there, but Greenville, South Carolina, a little bit closer to that benchmark. Asheville, North Carolina, a threat there in that region we'll be paying attention to, of course. Kingsport, Tennessee's in there, as we've alluded to as well. So I'm just going to keep checking everything here in the Weather Center. Again, the reason we're not wrapping it up quite yet is because of the stuff headed toward Louisville. It gives me pause. It gives me some concern here because we're seeing winds at a very low level here in our systems, closer to 80 miles an hour. Actually, the latest update kind of dropped some of that a little bit there, which is good, but it may be because we're getting so close to the radar. But the radar scan right before really was kind of telling that other story. You can see that blue sun up on the map there around the Ekron community. That's only at 600, 700 feet to 70 miles an hour. So that's problematic here, folks. And Louisville is going to be in the path of this, that general vicinity over the next little bit. Again, the latest scan not quite as prominent, but it may just be because we're kind of getting so close now to the radar site, within about 500 feet or within about 600 feet at least of that with the actual, I'm talking about not the actual distance from the radar, but in terms of the height there at that spot there on the Doppler radar technology. So again, let's go ahead and see what else we have for you guys now. I want to go ahead and switch some modes for you. And then they just canceled the tornado warning for some areas there in toward that Indiana region. So no tornado warnings again, but still watching things very carefully. The destructive severe thunderstorm threat headed toward Louisville, it would appear. Hopefully that doesn't come together quite that dangerously, but got to keep our eyes out. We'll be back more with the latest here in about 9 minutes. So we'll be back with more here in less than 10 minutes. So keep it tuned to Cloud Weather. We'll keep you guys up to date. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center right now. We're about 2:53 Eastern, 1:53 Central on this Friday. Some of this stuff really more getting the Eastern time zone at this point versus the Central. But we're tracking right now a new tornado warning actually here. First one I think of the day here in northwest Georgia. This is for parts of Bartow, Floyd, and Gordon counties now. A 250 severe thunderstorms capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight line wind damage were located over Shannon or near Rome, moving northeast at 65 miles an hour. So Calhoun, Adairsville, Plainville, as well as Shannon, Fairmount, Ranger, Sonoraville, Pinson, Oakman, Redbud, Folsom, Audubon, they're all under this threat. You have to just really get an interior room away from windows in that area right now in northwestern Georgia. So let me go ahead and see what we have with the Doppler technology here. Again, this is north of the metro of Atlanta. So that's the good news right now. But a tornado watch does now include Atlanta. So we'll keep our eyes on that threat there. And you can see it if I switch to other mode. It's a little bit higher up on the radar, but it's a pretty good view actually of some pretty tight rotation right now. So let's go ahead and zoom in. It's moving toward the community of Shannon, Georgia here. Again, we're in North Georgia. We're not in our local area or anywhere close, but again, just checking the latest here. Don't see any debris right now, so that's the good news. But we'll keep checking to make sure we don't get a tornado on the ground here in this area. I know it's kind of cluttered up here with just all the different lines and all the different information we're getting in here. So again, you can see how we had kind of green and red coming together, and then it was just enough to prompt that tornado warning by the office there at Peachtree City. So again, we're just going to have to see what's going on. I know it looks like they're double checking some things here in the chat session right now. I want to make sure I do the same. So there's some questions about some confirmation and stuff. I want to see if that's talking about the tornado or if they're talking about something else here. They're just talking about the tornado warning being issued. I think the confirmation of that at this point. But again, just kind of keep checking here. It's just passing by the airport there in Rome, and then moving toward Adairsville, that vicinity. At least you see Plainville there. I was gonna call it Plainview, but no, Plainville. As we get eventually out of Floyd County and into toward parts of Bartow County, maybe, but could be headed more for Gordon County. I don't really like that signature. I know we're up high enough where unfortunately it's going to be hard to see if we get any debris really reaching here. We might have a nasty little tornado on the ground without much actual signature on our source here with the debris tracker, the debris product, but also getting a gust earlier, Bowling Green to 60 knots in Kentucky, so that's some strong wind there. We'll keep our eyes on that. And we need to get back up to the Louisville area now because that's why we're really staying on at this point because of what we're seeing, a destructive wind headed toward Louisville over the next little bit based on some indications on the Doppler. You see a warning now for Louisville, and they're going more considerable wind damage now for the Louisville area versus the destructive tags. That's a little bit of good news, but the wind is approaching Louisville now over the next little bit as we kind of go between the different radar scans here. I try to give you guys the very latest as it moves into ward areas there in like Jefferson County, for instance, there in north central Kentucky. So I'm going to keep watching that here on the Doppler radar. That lighter blue just west of Louisville is where we're really watching some of the stronger wind potential as it moves in pretty rapidly now in toward the city. Again, not quite as serious maybe as we were looking at a moment ago, but it doesn't matter. You still need to be inside and away from windows and almost treat it looks like a tornado's headed your way because these winds can still be dangerous if not deadly. So again, I gotta keep that in mind here as we continue to watch that. So just kind of switching back and forth here. Let me take off from it. Just go discussing so we don't kind of confuse you guys there. I want to go over to our other radar again in North Georgia because we're tracking that tornado warning here on the storm relative velocity. Some rotation green and red trying to come together around the Shannon community and around Plainville there. So again, I'm just trying our best to keep you guys updated. The way that has that little echo there kind of concerns me here on the Doppler radar, the way things kind of have that little C in there maybe. Could have a tornado there. We wouldn't really know it because we're up pretty high on the Doppler feed here. A lot of wind damage in Chautauqua County there. So that's the information we're getting in right now. We'll keep our eyes on all that, of course. I'm going to change the terminal later. I think it may be too far, and we are too far away, but there's a lot of lightning on that. Let's check the high top later. They may not be too much further away on this, and I don't think they are. I mean, yeah, about the same distance, and you see greens and reds there coming together. They're not as tight maybe on that view, but they're there. I mean, maybe not quite as tight. I'm going to back it up to see if it looked tighter on that view a moment ago. Actually, I just kind of picked up a little bit on that latest scan, but you can kind of see it was coming together there pretty good on that high type site there when they issued it, and it kind of fell apart. So now trying to come back a little bit on that view. You can definitely see that wind energy there in northwest Georgia right now. That definitely came into play. You see gusts in the 50 range there to the west. So something to kind of keep our eyes on here for sure. You see there Cartersville, Georgia, and Bartow County. Just kind of keeping our eyes on this more to the north of them right now, but they definitely could have some gustier winds in that vicinity already. I guess 38 earlier on at Cartersville Airport there. So just keeping you guys up to date as we look here at the operator technology. Looking here, I know our computers here have been working extra hard here in this event. The last few days, over the last weeks, you might hear a little bit of that computer accent here in the background, but again, just continuing to keep you guys up to date. Plainville there, Adairsville, got that spin, the latest update, 259. We're talking about a severe squall line capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight line wind damage near Plainville or near Calhoun, moving northeast at 65 miles an hour. So again, we're watching this carefully here. Can't confirm a tornado at this point, but it did look like a little bit of something in there, but it may just be the way we're looking at it. Hopefully we don't get any confirmation this height, because it'd probably be a stronger tornado if we did. But the circulation is approaching I-75 just north of Adairsville. So keep watching that. I know we're getting information into the emergency manager there in Catoosa County, Georgia, reported a tree down in the roadway off of Temperance Hall there. Temperance Hall. So again, that's information up in that vicinity. Let's get back to areas to the north. You see around Knoxville now, they got some winds closer to 70, possibly moving on in, and then we'll get further on up. We'll get further on up here in the view. You see, I mean, even winds toward Indy up aloft, they're pretty high. But let's get a Louisville Doppler, see what's going on there, and you can see some winds there pretty strong in this view. Depending on exactly where you're looking, you see, look at that wind just west of Louisville, closer to 70 miles an hour. Definitely impactful there for some of these different areas here coming on in right now on them. Got to be inside, away from windows in Louisville with that type of wind coming on into the picture. Again, just checking some of our latest outlooks. We did just get a new outlook from the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. So let's go over that with you guys a little bit. Let's go over that with you guys just a little bit here as we continue along in the coverage here to keep you guys safe and informed. You see a lot of the areas toward Nashville out of the convective threat, but they still have winds there that could be serious in nature, so you got to keep that in mind. I know you see a margin of risk extending down, just clipping our far northern areas there of southwest Georgia, but probably not going to see much there. We'll see, but some of the stuff coming out of northwest could be kind of trying to maybe try to get that together here, just the overall pattern. I mean, you know, but that stuff there is kind of moving more northeasterly. The area there that's a little more, I didn't move the map over, but the area that's moving a little more put together is moving more in the northeasterly direction. So anything that is kind of in there doesn't look all that impressive at this point. So that's kind of the storyline here right now. We'll keep watching, keep tracking though, of course. See Knoxville, gusts there could be closer to 70 around the University of Tennessee. Around Louisville, we could have gusts there that are pretty high as well, as we've alluded to. Maybe not quite as high, but we showed you a moment ago there on our map. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. But I will keep monitoring the situation. I know flash flooding being reported in Crawford County, Indiana. A road washed out there at Temple Road there in Indiana, the state of Indiana. So again, I'm just keeping you guys up to date on this national level situation. Giving you guys the very latest on what's happening, of course. Again, we're just watching an unusual setup here pretty much. And just seeing also, let's go back down to Georgia now, multiple trees being reported down, it looks like, as we get here to northwest Georgia, talking about now areas around Mitchell Circle in the Gore community. The multiple trees down there as we get back in storm relative velocity mode here northwest of Adairsville there. Kind of checking to see if we have any debris right now. It doesn't look like it until that kind of sea-safe there. It's kind of problematic the way things are set up in that regard, but it's not something that is definitely on the ground, but it could be, and you got to be in that tornado safe spot there. Take away some of the other information for the time being. You can see that red box there does include areas further downstream like Oakman, as well as Ranger and Fairmount. So again, going to keep watching, keep tracking the situation as it does progress. Again, seeing that kind of circulation there still on Doppler radar technology. We're just going to have to keep looking here at our different scans, of course. As we go back to the Storm Prediction Center, the latest outlook that they sent out, you can see Greenville, South Carolina, just on the edge of the enhanced risk here, that 30% wind danger. That's what this is for now, because they've taken the tornado threat down to 5%, as you would kind of expect at this point, and then the hail threat here, only 5%. So it's all really about the wind, as we've been alluding to over the last couple hours. It became more about that here. Thought it would be pretty big, that storyline, and maybe the strong tornado threat could overtook that, but that's not been the case, thankfully. But still, the wind threats cause power outages just all over the place here as we look toward different states. I mean, outages in Alabama, 141,433 customers in the dark. Tennessee, 226,440 customers in the dark there. So this widespread power outages, including in Davidson County now, over 63,000 customers of that electricity. So that really tells the story. Kentucky, 94,037 customers in the dark. Indiana, almost 21,700 customers in the dark there. Over 18,500 in Illinois. Looking toward Missouri, over 7,600. Michigan, almost 14,000. Even here in Florida, almost 14,000 customers in the dark. Georgia, over 23,000 customers in the dark. Mississippi, over 30,000 in the dark. So, continuing the tornado warning right now for Gordon County, Georgia. They've canceled out Bartow County, but better look at the storm in Gordon from the Huntsville radar based on the angle on the RF surge just north of the county line and the rest area on I-75 in Gordon County is the storyline right now. So, again, we'll keep watching. Let's go back to the Huntsville radar. We pulled that up here a little bit earlier on and kind of see to you guys what was happening with the storm setup there. From that view, it looks actually like on the Huntsville radar now, it's not quite as tight as circulation. So that's some good news there. And as we're looking, I hear some stuff blowing around out here in North Florida, even from the wind here on this Friday. It's a very windy day for sure. As we're looking toward I-75 in Georgia, though, rotation there not as tight as it was maybe, but still could be an issue for areas here in North Georgia. So we'll keep our eyes on things. I see a report of the Chatsworth area in Maury County, a tree down across City View Road. So we'll just have to keep watching everything. Let's keep our eyes on some of that stuff to the south too, in case it taps into some of these parameters, because this stuff could be more of an issue as we get a little bit closer in there, down toward the south, maybe closer toward Atlanta. We'll see. Could be an issue that we'll have to deal with. Just a very nasty pattern here. I'm going to go ahead and look at some things real quick behind the scenes, so you might hear my voice trail. Just bear with me. Yeah, so our gust highest 124 here. As we get back to the Florida view, I want to go back to that here real quick. Highest gust only 24 east of Stark, but a lot of other areas seeing gusts quite a bit higher than that here on this Friday. I mean, these METAR stations maybe not quite as high with some of these as they were a little while ago. We had some purple areas showing up down toward Tampa, indicative of even stronger gusts in play here. But still, I mean, got the gusts here all over the place with low pressure. The very unusual situation that we're dealing with here with that low pressure, just feeling the impact of that several hundred miles away with the wind. Not really getting the convection to the south. The perimeter's not coming together for that. But I mean, as we look here, you can see just a slew of warnings here to the north. The warning to the area around Louisville, they're not as widespread as they were thankfully, and still have some high winds in the general region here, and we have high wind warnings across parts of these states. So, gotta keep that in mind here as well. And the storm spotters are out and about in many areas. Gotta be really careful with these trees just falling though, without much convection around. Even I mean that's problematic in and of itself. So, gotta keep our eyes on that. Gotta keep our eyes on the grand scheme of things. But since things don't look quite as nasty in some of these areas here, I think we're going to try to go ahead and wrap it up. Of course, if there's something like a tornado emergency that pops up on us here, something in that regard, of course, we'll make sure we pop in for live coverage of that, or any local warnings here in North Florida, South Georgia area, our 62 counties will make sure we're on if we get something like that. But let's real quick here leave you a look at Louisville, because that stuff's just getting into Louisville now, where we could have gusts closer to 70, at least a possibility. There in toward that area. Got to be really cognizant of that there in toward Jefferson County, Kentucky, for instance. So keep that in mind as we look at some of our different tools behind the scenes. Still looking at some of our different metrics here, for instance, as we try to keep you guys safe, try to keep you guys informed. These temperatures have been unseasonably warm toward North Florida and South Georgia, for instance. So get back over there here in just a moment, but again, the velocity really tells the story with some stronger winds right across Louisville now, closer toward that 70-mile-an-hour range. Some of these yellows indicative of that. Let's have to keep our eyes on that scenario here, but real quick, the temperature look at things. We haven't done this too much here, so let's go ahead and go over here. You can see 70s, 80s on the board, even some 90s toward Titusville and Melbourne. And I mean, up here, even 70s, 80s on the board, and not much cooler out toward parts of Virginia, and even some wintry weather, I mean, up toward areas there further north. So that's really interesting to see this, the grand scheme of things there, as we just give you guys a viewpoint on everything here on this Friday. So, a very windy day, though, nonetheless, as we continue to let you guys know what's going on, whether you're under a tornado warning. That threat's a little more advanced, but it's a thunderstorm warning. You just have a little more focus to the wind potential. So keep that in mind. Again, if we need to come back on, we will, but it's become more of a local story for the folks in these areas. We have cloudweather.com/radar for an interactive look at things when we're not on the air. If we get any, again, local warnings, they'll be with you. Any tornado emergencies, that'd be really kind of less likely at this point because of the overall profiles of the atmosphere that we're seeing, or maybe even something really significant toward Atlanta. There's some different criteria we could come back on for, but right now I would lean us against having to come back on for any more coverage, but that could always change. So gotta keep an eye on these damaging potentials here that with this overall threat. These tornado watches still in play here for parts of Alabama, Georgia, so looking there toward North Carolina, Tennessee, I mean even a little South Carolina clip there, Virginia. You see a little bit of western part of the state of Virginia there. So there's several states involved. I mean, it kind of gets tricky because we're trying to read all these over again here, and that we have parts of some states under one or another. But so one of them does include parts of Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee. That does go here until about 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central. Another for parts of Illinois there earlier on, but they've canceled out Illinois now, and then including parts of Indiana, Kentucky to 5 Eastern, another one for portions of North Georgia, Western North Carolina, Western South Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, and far Southwestern Virginia to 8 o'clock tonight. So we'll definitely be watching all these different hazards. And that warning for Gordon County, Georgia is the only tornado warning we have on the board right now. The severe thunderstorm warning around Louisville, we're watching carefully there as we're looking toward Jefferson County in Kentucky. I know we're watching stuff around Tennessee, Knoxville. They're getting some pretty nasty weather over Knox County right now there in toward eastern Tennessee. Oh, that's wind energy around. You see Maryville getting some of that even. Just the overall setup here from promoting that, and then the tornado warning we're watching. We're watching that here in North Georgia. You see some areas of rotation. Actually, it looks like it's tightening up more to the south. Another area now in Bartow County. So a tornado warning might get issued down there. That actually looks pretty tight there as we're looking west of Pine Log. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on that there with the overall radar scans as they come on out. So That's something to watch more from that local perspective. At this point, that's on the overall threat levels, but if something becomes a little more of a national story, we'll be sure to let you know, whether it's just retweeting something on Twitter at Cloud Casey or something more than that with a live stream on some or all of our different platforms that we use for streaming. Of course, we'll be here for you guys. But just have a great day, great night, great weekend. We'll plan on seeing you back here on Tuesday unless something prompts us to come back on before then. As we go ahead and leave you right now, we'll leave you with a look here, all the different platforms that we're on here. Of course, here in the Weather Center, I just want to let you guys know exactly where you can watch coverage here as necessary. Facebook, Casey Cloud WX, Cloud Weather, Twitter at Cloud Casey, and the auto alerts for our local area, including like wind advisory information at Cloud_WX on Twitter. Yes, they have YouTube there at Cloud Weather where you can watch things. Sometimes we just stream on there, and maybe that Twitter account at Cloud Casey. So keep YouTube at Cloud Weather in mind. Subscribe there. Hit that bell icon to be notified of our coverage as that does occur. Our streams as they do occur. And then Twitch there, Cloud Weather, and the website cloudweather.com with a lot of information on there as well, including that interactive radar. Again, thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. As you see, that new tornado warning now just popping up, though, as we wrap it up. Bartow, Cherokee, Dawson, Gilmer, Gordon, and Pickens County now until 3:45. A new tornado warning in North Georgia at 3:13. Severe thunderstorms capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight-line wind damage were located near Ranger, or 10 miles east there of Calhoun, and another area of rotation was located 4 miles northwest of Pine Log. Both areas were moving northeast at 60. Jasper, LJ, Nelson, East LJ, Talkin Rock, Fairmount, Ranger, Sequoia Lake there, as well as Marble Hill under this, Oakman, Tate. You kind of get the idea with this warning in Plato. 3:45. NWS Tornado on Twitter has all the warning information there in terms of all the tornado warnings across the country.